So I just got back from the blood lab, like one of those diagnostics places, and I'm making a huge-ish video about some of the health things that I've been going through lately and kind of overall in my lifetime, because I think it might help some of you out there who think that you are more alone than what you really are in life. However, that's not what this is about, because that'll be in a different video, but I thought this story didn't kind of fit the theme of that video. This was just a really funny kind of thing that happened. I mean, it's not really funny, but why do I talk so much? I went to get my blood drawn at Quest Diagnostics, and almost everything went wrong. So here's what happened. We had to drop off Adam at work. That's my little cousin at work this morning. So we dropped him off. We returned something to Costco this morning, and then we went to Quest Diagnostics. We signed in. There wasn't that much of a wait. And they call my name. I get back there. So I hand them my insurance card. I hand them everything they ask for. So they asked me for insurance. I brought my driver's license. I brought my papers with me, and they only asked me for insurance. I have two insurances. I have a primary and I have a secondary. So I told them that, and they asked me for my primary, so I gave them that because they took it. And so, because sometimes places don't take all of the kinds of insurance that you have, that's why I have a secondary insurance. So they did end up taking my, actually they ended up taking only my, they took my primary insurance. So I went in the back, and she hands me a urine cup, for like the urine samples, and she says, "Oh, you're gonna be easy, honey." And she goes, "So you know how to do this?" I said, "Yeah, whatever." Like, she still explained to me how it works. I went, I did the urine test, I came back in, and she goes, "All right, so is it just the urine test, or are we doing anything else?" And I was like, "Oh, well, we have blood tests too." And I got out my paperwork and I handed it to her. And she goes, "Oh." And she goes, "I didn't know we were doing all of this." And I was like, "Huh." Yeah. And so I happened to glance at her computer screen, and I see the name of a different doctor, the doctor that did not order these blood tests, but one of my doctors. And this is a doctor who had apparently ordered this test, like this urine test, months ago. And I did not know it. I tell her, "I didn't even know that test was ordered." And she goes, "Really?" And I go, "No." So she goes, "Okay, well, I apologize. I should have asked you for paperwork. So I'm going to have to enter this in." I said, "That's fine. I'm sorry it's so much, whatever." So I sit down. And really, it's not her fault, because what happened is, they called me in and they didn't think to ask for paperwork because they already had an order come in digitally, so that's why they thought I was there. But if I had come in without that digital order, they would have asked me probably for a physical order, which is what I had. So I'm sitting there. She's entering all this stuff in. I'm kind of messing around on my phone. I'm messaging my mom and telling her why it's taking so long. And the lady's asking me questions here and there about personal information. And then she's quiet for a bit. She's typing, and then she switches to a different page and she goes, "All right." And she's flipping through some paperwork on her desk, and she goes, "Oh." And I'm like, "Oh no." And she's like, "There's a second page?" And I was like, "Yeah." And she goes, "You are having a lot done." And this is actually the second time she had said that. She just looks at me and goes, "You're having a lot done." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm sorry." I felt so bad for this lady because I was having so many things tested, you guys. It's ridiculous how many things I was getting tested. But yeah, so she goes, all right, well, I'll have to go back and re-enter all of this new stuff that's on page number 2. So I was like, okay. So I'm sitting there and I'm just like patiently waiting it out. And she's like, all right, everything is entered. And then she asks for insurance information again. I give it to her. And she tells me that after it goes through insurance, it's going to be a maximum copay of $200. And so I was like, $200. So I was like, can I just message my mom real quick and let her know that, because I didn't know if it was going to go through my insurance or my parents' insurance at this point, because she had asked for both of my insurance cards. So I told my mom. My mom said, you know, we got to do what we got to do. So I told her, yes, that's fine, $200 is fine. And she said at most it'll be $200, so I'm hoping it's less. So she prints off a bunch of labels and she has me sign a bunch of paperwork, which takes a little bit. And then she goes, with the tests that you're having done, I have to double check the labels. So it'll be a minute. And so she goes and double checks and verifies with, I guess, a coworker that her labeling on the vials is correct. And then she says, I have to take your urine to the urine guy. So she goes and she takes the urine to the urine guy. And then she comes to me and she makes me verify that the name on one of the vials is correct. And so I was like, okay, that's correct. So finally we get to taking the blood. So she's setting up everything for taking the blood and she goes, ah! And I was like, and she goes, oh, I'm sorry. My thumb sometimes just slips out of its socket, just disjoints. And she like doing this with her thumb. I felt so bad for her, but she was like doing this with her thumb. She pops it back in. She goes, I just gotta pop it back in there. I was like, oh, no, you're fine, you're fine. I mean, it's not that big of a deal, but it was just a little bit funny. And so she pops it back in, and I'm thinking, God, that must suck for a phlebotomist to have like a messed up thumb. That would suck. I would think it would suck. So she gets her thumb back into place and we take the blood. So I'm watching, she sticks it in and she does her thing. I don't want to make a bunch of people sick here, but she looks at me and she's like, you don't even react, like you're used to this, aren't you? And yes, I am. I've had health problems since I was 8 days old. At 8 days old I was back in the hospital for health issues. So all my life I have been hospitalized and had problems, so I'm very used to needles. And also, and I told her, you know, my dad's a vet and my mom's a vet tech, so I've kind of grown up around medicine anyway. She was like, oh, well, my daughter, that's what she wanted to do. And I was like, really? And she asked me where my parents work, and I told her about my parents' clinics and stuff like that. It was a nice conversation. And so she gets done. We ended up filling 6 vials, which is in addition to the 3 vials that they took the 2 days ago. So I am completely dry. I'm dry. And she finishes up and she puts the gauze on me. And she tells me to hold down the pressure and everything, so I am. And she's putting the labels on the vials and everything, and then she takes a peek at my gauze. And okay, if you're squeamish, just be prepared. So blood just like and she goes, oh my God, you're a bleeder. And she picks up more gauze and she like smacks it on there and she's like, hold more pressure down. And I was like, okay. I was like, for like the 5th time, I'm like, I'm sorry. I know it's not my fault, but I'm like, I'm sorry. And so I'm holding the gauze down, I'm like pressing into it really hard, and I'm like holding it down, and she's like putting the labels on the vials, and then one of the labels on the vials gets like messed up. So she's like having to like peel it meticulously, like, you know, when you get like a package in the mail and you're like trying to peel it off and it doesn't work and it keeps ripping, so she's like trying to do that, and then she gets a new one and she like puts it on there, and then because she had to do that with a couple vials, I had to reconfirm them. So she looks at the gauze and she peels it up real slow because she knows it might go crazy, and she goes, oh, thank God, you're good. So she gets a fresh thing of gauze, puts it on there, puts tape on there, and I'm healthy as a horse. I have to check the names on the vials since she changed around some of the labels. I'm not really sure why, because they were all the same label. Like, you know, when you print copies, all of the copies are the same copy. Anyway, she made me re-verify them, which is fine. I appreciate that. So I re-verified them, and she was like, you're good to go. And I was like, thank you very much. And she was like, you have a nice day. And I was like, you too. And I walked out. But, you know, for a test that she expected to take maybe 5 minutes, I was in there for a good maybe 20-25. I felt really, really bad, but, you know, it's whatever. So that's my story. That's it. You know, I didn't plan on making a video today, but whatever. Like, whatever. It's whatever. It's fine. But yeah, I am going to make that other video, which is about all of my other health problems. So I don't know when that will be up. In the past 3 days, I have gone to the allergist. I have gone to the pulmonologist. I've had a full physical pulmonary function test. I have had a chest x-ray. I have had a skin prick allergy test, 2 blood draws that resulted in multiple vials of blood. I had 3 cavities filled. I had 1 tooth that had a chip in it that was mended. I have to schedule an operation on my vocal cords, and I also have to schedule, it's an asthma test. I forget what it's called. It starts with an M. Hang on. It's called a methacholine test, which is apparently used to like officially diagnose asthma. And then I also had a urine test, which was for a completely different doctor that was months old. So my doctor's probably gonna get it and be like, what the crap is this? It's been a fun week. I will see you next time. I know my upload schedule's been bad, but there's been a lot going on, and once I upload that video, maybe you'll understand why. But I did do a lot of fun stuff lately that I did film, so there will be other videos. I just have to sit down and be able to edit them. But I will see you next time. Bye.